You're welcome. Okay, Maria, got you. You have your hand raised. What were you saying?
I don't know why it's still raised.
What's that?
So I don't know why it's still raised. How do you take my hand down?
Oh, I got it down.
How do I lower my hand?
You don't. I'll lower it for you. I acknowledge that the hand was raised, and then I erase it off the screen.
I got it.
Okay. So we've got 3 down. We've got 4 more to go. What's another? Anybody would remember another expectation?
Nurturing self.
Another construct. What's that?
Nurturing self.
Nurturing self. Yeah. We're doing
Expectations.
good. What's that?
Expectations.
Expectations. 2 more to go.
Attachment.
We have that one. Okay, here's a hint.
Express your feelings.
Yes. No hint needed. 1 more.
You got this, Tessa.
Yeah. Got through 6 of them. 6 of them with no hints at all. You're doing well.
Finish the last one, Tessa. You got this. 2 more.
Discipline.
Bam. Discipline. All right. And I say this every week.
She gets a prize. She gets a prize.
Oh, yeah? What you gonna get? I like to know. All right, so I say this every week. When we have the 7 constructs in play, what is it? Oh, hold on. She named all 7 of them, didn't she? Yes, she did. Okay, so Tessa, for naming all the constructs, you getting this.
When?
Okay, yeah. If you text us your address, and we'll send it to you in the mail.
Okay.
Okay.
A
Okay.
Target gift card.
Oh.
But how much?
$1. Okay. Now, the 7 constructs. When you put them all together, what are we trying to do with these? What are we trying to create between you and your child?
A bond.
A bond.
Well, that's one of the constructs.
Big card.
Is it a relationship?
Okay. And what kind of a relationship?
A nurturing relationship.
We're trying to build a relationship, but what kind of a relationship?
A nurturing relationship.
That's close. That's close. But what we're trying to build is a healthy relationship. All of these constructs are what we do is to help build a healthy relationship between you and your child, or you and whomever you happen to be in a relationship with. Now, last week we talked about the spices. So let's deal with that for a moment. What are the spices? What does the S stand for in a spice?
I forgot.
Anybody know what the S was for? Now, don't forget to unmute yourself so I can hear your answer. And then you can mute yourself again.
I forgot.
Okay, no worries. That's why we're here. Social.
My bad.
It's
Okay.
cold.
What is a social need?
Oh, communication.
Well, communication. Okay. What else?
So what we're doing right now, everyone in class, we're meeting our social needs. Even though government has asked us to do social distancing, we're still meeting our needs right now. And this can be used as a life tool, and a life skill for anyone out there. That when you go to school, you're gonna have to do online classes. So this is how you're gonna meet. Like our example right now, we're not allowed to be in the office, so this is our way to being, social right now for us in the office.
Okay. Yeah. And not only that, we'll come back to that. What is the P? for-
Physical.
Yes.
And then the next one's intellectual.
No,
Intellectual.
stop it.
Now you stop.
Okay. Spell that wrong. There we go.
Your turn, Maria.
I still spell it wrong. That's all. What's the C?
What?
What's the C?
Isn't it something like that?
Creative.
Creating?
Creative. Yeah. Oh.
Creative.
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 My bad. My
Okay.
thing was not.
What's the E?
Emotional.
Yes.
And S is spiritual.
Spiritual.
Emotional.
You looking at the book. You cheat.
It's not cheating. If you're looking at the book, that's good. That means you're using a resource that's been given to you.
Am
Now,
I on mute?
Cheating, in other words.
all these things
My bad. My service is crap. And my phone might
Oh.
die on you.
need.
Charger.
Now, last week,
Do it back.
I said our needs do something. What do our needs do? What do they dictate? Anybody remember that?
Characteristic and growth between.
Think hygiene?
I remember its behavior.
Yes.
Hold on. Who's that? Hold on.
It dictates behavior.
Shit. Yes.
Our needs dictate behavior. Now, here's what I'm going to start asking, because I want us to get a more clear picture of this. Our social need is the need for what?
Wait, what's the question?
Our social needs are the need for what?
Social needs are the needs for them to learn how to interact with others. There's a wait.
You're not far off, but let's simplify that just a little bit more. Our social need would be the need for friends,
Gilbin building. I don't know.
Family.
family, or maybe a partner or a significant other. Help meet a social need. Because let's keep in mind what social means. It means that you're interacting with others. But who are the others? The others could be a friend, could be a family, or could be a partner or significant other, somebody you're in relationship with. Okay. What are our physical needs? What are some of our physical needs?
Physical needs
Yes.
like
Sex.
fitness, either bonding, touch,
Who
healthy
said sex?
boundaries.
Is that you, Saucy?
Okay.
Sex.
So yeah, sex is a physical need.
And
Sleep is a physical need. What else do we need physical? Physical.
exercise.
Exercise.
It would be soft or something like that.
Right.
Mhm.
So these are all physical needs
Miss
that we
Freaky
want,
Friday.
but that we have to have to survive on a regular basis.
That's our answer.
Intellectual need, our need to think. Whether it be about an idea or an
Marvin Gaye.
experience, is our need to be able to
Yes.
think. What did I say our creative need was?
Creative need is a skill you develop, and it's a special talent that you can own, master, or manifest.
Okay. That's true.
About knowing yourself.
Yourself, exactly. Your creative need is all about being who you are, being yourself, or expressing your inner self. And you do that through a creative means. What could be an example of somebody showing who they are creatively?
Through art or dancing.
Through art? Yes, exactly. Through art or dancing, or dressing, or cooking. Anything like that, they're expressing their inner selves and who they are. They are being creative with who they are. So yes.
Bang banging. It's like creative sign language.
Now, what is an emotional need? What are some emotional needs we have?
Expressing your feelings.
Feelings, okay. What are some examples of some feelings that we need to have expressed?
Anger,
Yeah. Anger,
sadness, happiness.
Stress.
stress is an emotional feeling. How about security?
I was about to say that.
Or even praise? Those are all emotional needs that we have to express or even receive. Okay. Last but not least, what is a spiritual need?
Kurt Franklin.
He's a singer. But what is a spiritual need?
Tamla man. Spiritual needs right there.
Okay.
Take me to the king. Here's my offering.
Shut up.
My life is torn to pieces, and I don't have much to bring.
All right, but that's not a spiritual
Spiritual
need.
needs right there.
That's not a spiritual need. Not in this case. Your spiritual need is this.
Busy for everything we products. And so
Wow.
Our spiritual need in this sense is being a part of something good. Whether you're raised in a good home, you're part of a good organization, you're in a good relationship, it's something you can look back on and say, this was good for me, or this was a good experience to me. So it has nothing necessarily to do with going to church and prayer and all that, although those things are good. But in this case, we're saying, because sometimes even going to church is not a good experience for everybody. But if you can look back, and if you were, let's say you was raised in a good home, you can look back and say, you know what, I was raised in a good home. Or I was in a relationship with somebody and it was a good relationship. That's meeting a spiritual need. But in order for the spiritual need to be met, all these other things have to be met within that. Because if not, if our needs go unmet, there's going to be a change in our behavior. That's what we talked about last week. Which is going to bring us forward into this week and what we're going to be talking about. Because these things they're going to tie in. Because this week, we're going to talk about how to build up self-worth, praising their children and their behavior.
yeah, but that's just unsanitary. They all cook themselves that same piece of glass.
Back in the day, a lot of nobody was worrying about hepatitis.
Yeah, it should have been more about hepatitis.
Raheem, I'm tired of your face popping up on my screen. Mute yourself.
Look, bless your heart, okay? I love you. Have a nice day.
I see your face too. Can you mute yourself?
Okay, I will.
All right. What is this? Self-esteem.
I ain't got none of that.
You know what it is? Nobody knows what that is, what self-esteem is?
I mean, something that like makes you feel good for yourself, like I guess. I don't know.
You're on the right track. Your self-esteem is how you feel about you. If you feel good about yourself, your self-esteem is pretty good, pretty high, or it can be high. Some people have a low self-esteem, don't feel good about themselves.
Or it's like the
Self-esteem is
offspring.
about how you feel about you.
Or it could be like the offsprings, you know. Mm-hmm.
What is self-concept? What do you think that is? Before I tell you, just to get an idea.
What does that say? Self what?
Self-concept.
Oh. Self-concept is how you perceive yourself.
And what manner?
Exactly.
That's not
It's
the answer though. That's a little too broad. Need to narrow it down a little bit.
Down. How you perceive yourself? How do you uphold yourself in the way you carry your how can I say this?
You're on the right track,
the way one carries like their own image, like how they carry their own image, if that makes sense.
In a manner of speaking, but it's not quite there yet. But you're not far off. Your self-concept is basically how you think about yourself.
Close enough.
Close enough.
How do you think about yourself is your self-concept. Do you think you're smart? Do you think you're pretty? Do you think you're ugly? Do you think what about yourself is your self-concept? Your self-esteem is how you feel about yourself. Do you feel confident? Your self-concept is how you think about yourself. So what is this one? Your self-worth. Any guesses?
How you value yourself?
Exactly. Self-worth is a combination of esteem and concept. It's how you feel and think about yourself, which in turn determines your value. How do you know what a person's value is, or how do you know whether or not you have high value for them?
Their net worth.
That could play a part. But when we're talking about value, this is not something you can necessarily hold, or it's not something tangible. Because we're talking
How
about an inner,
someone
the way we
perceive their
carry
goods
ourselves.
and like, their perseverance basically is like how it shows how much they value themselves, how much they care about not only just their image, the way they think, what goes on. It's also in the decisions that they make also holds value. The things that mean the most to them, that's also value. Certain things like that.
Okay. That's very good. So when you value yourself, how can you tell when a person is value themselves? It's all in how they carry themselves. The way they speak to you, the way they speak about themselves, the way they carry themselves, the way they dress about themselves. How they think and feel about themselves is seen. It's a part of their life. It's a part of their lifestyle. You can tell when somebody values something because of it's about how they live. For example, I gave this example before. If a person gets up at 4 a.m. in the morning to go running and to go to the gym, what is it you think they value?
Their
Physical
time.
appearance,
The physical appearance, but what else?
health.
Their time.
Health. They value health. In addition to their physical appearance, they value health. And so they live that because, hey, I value my health. So I'm gonna get up early and I'm gonna go work out. I'm gonna go run, then I'm gonna go lift. I'm gonna eat right because I value my health. So if something has value to you, you're going to live that. It's going to be a part of the way you live and how you live. So if you feel good about yourself and you think good about yourself, people are going to be able to see that in you because it's just a part of how you live. That is what it is. Now, next question. How do you think a person's value becomes determined?
Wait, what?
How does a person's value become determined? How do you determine your value? Where does it start?
In the famous words of Ice Cube, I believe
In
he
your
said, "Check
in your
yourself,"
home,
right?
like your family.
That's where I learned mine. I don't know.
Where?
From home, like with your family.
Yeah, I don't know if you're going to be able to see this.
Take it. What percentage of my phone?
7.
Okay. So, someone says it starts at home. True enough. It does start at home. And it starts as part of this construct.
I don't. I didn't have it.
Okay. Expectations.
It was on the back.
Can you hear me?
Yes. You're somebody. Who is this speaking? Okay. Now, is anybody's value determined later in life?
Yes.
How so?
Not all of us come from the best upbringings.
Mhm.
So a lot of self-value can be built through accomplishments later in life. Say, for example, school, work, relationships, things you built outside of your home and your upbringing.
Okay. So where's a person's value prior to that? If what you're saying is correct, where's the value at prior to all those things?
To be determined by the individual. If you're speaking in relationship to a child,
Mm-hmm.
some kids grow up in a home with no mom, no dad, grandparents. So a lot of self-value really depends on the individual, but nurturing is very important. But not all of us have that nurturing as a child. So I don't know. I would say it's depending on the individual, even at a young age as a child.
Okay. And you're not wrong. You're not incorrect. Just incomplete. Let me show you what I mean. You said some key things. Some people don't have their mom and dad. Some people's upbringing are not that good, right? Okay.
I'm here, right?
We call that experience. Their experience growing up was not necessarily a positive one. Everybody, when they're a child, goes through experiences. We all go through experiences, right? It's just a part of living life. Self-esteem and your self-concept concerning yourself is going to be determined whether the experiences that you are having, especially at a young age, are positive or negative. That's going to determine whether or not your self-esteem is going to be high or low or positive or negative, or whether or not your self-concept is going to be positive or negative. It's all going to be based on your experiences. Because our experiences is what shape us and mold us and make us who we are. And true enough, it's all individualized because we all are individuals. We have our own way of thinking, our own way of seeing things. We have our own minds. And just like our spices and our needs dictate behavior, our experiences as a child also dictate behavior. Because if your self-esteem and your self-concept are good, you're going to behave a lot differently than someone whose self-esteem and self-concept about themselves is low. It's a behavior pattern. And a lot of times it's because our experiences are based on our needs. And just like I said, our experiences dictate behavior, our needs dictate behavior. Because if we're not getting something that we got listed here, it's going to affect how we behave and how we carry ourselves and what we do and how we treat other people. So the construct that I got rid of there is based is expectations. Now, our expectations are, what are the expectations you have set for your child? Because you want to start this when they're young. That's why we deal with parents who have kids between ages of 0 and 5, because it's between those ages, during those years, that's their most formative years. And the experiences that they're having at that time when they're young, they don't forget, they're going to carry with them into adulthood. So what behavior do you want them to exhibit based on the experiences that they're having as a child? Because that's going to determine whether their behavior is going to be mostly positive or mostly negative. And that's going to be determined based on whether or not their self-esteem is positive or negative, or their self-concept is positive or negative. It's all relative. Y'all still with me on this?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yeah.
How does the construct of expectations work in building a child's self-esteem? That's the question. So let's answer that. First off, what is an expectation?
School, getting good grades, behavior, good behavior.
Now, good grades are the expectations from school, and good behavior is an expectation from school. That's true. What else is an expectation? I'm looking for the definition, and it's a very simple. Because your expectations are basically the goals that you have set for your child. Let me give you an example. Let's say you have a 2-year-old child. They're 2. Your 2-year-old child comes to you and they're hungry. They say, I'm hungry, I want something to eat. And you said, go to the kitchen and fix yourself something. Can you expect a 2-year-old to go into the kitchen, grab something out the refrigerator or out the cupboard, get some pots and pans together, and cook them something to eat?
No.
No. Why? Because that expectation is what?
Too high.
Too high.
Happy Meals, $4.
What's that? You say something, Raheem?
I say Happy Meals is like $4.
A Happy Meal is like $4? Okay, even if that's true,
Mhm.
do you expect your child at 2 years old to take $4 down to McDonald's, order a Happy Meal, and then come home?
No.
No, because that expectation is still what? Too high.
Unrealistic.
Exactly. When you set up an expectation for a child, for our kid, to your child, you want to make sure it's a realistic one, but one that's also appropriate for their age development. Because you don't expect a 2-year-old to do certain things. And if the expectations are set too high, they're going to get to the point where they feel like, I can't do anything. I can't accomplish anything. My parents have these high expectations for me. I could never meet them. And now I just kind of feel unworthy. So now they don't feel like anything. And their self-esteem, what do you think is going to happen to it?
It's going to fall.
It's going to fall. And not only that, because they're young, they're falling into a deficit. Because at a young age, their self-esteem and their self-concept hasn't even really developed yet. So now they're going into a deficit that's going to be a challenge to dig out of. But if you can set the expectation up to a point where they can accomplish it, little things, and you say, good job, proud of you, I knew you could do it. And you set up another expectation and they meet it, you're like, good job, I knew you could do it. And every expectation you set up to little things that you know they can accomplish. And then you can steadily increase a little bit at a time as they get older. They'll start developing in their head, you know what? Any goal you set before me, I know I can accomplish it. Because when I was little, my dad had me do something and I did it. My mom had me do something and I did it. And every time they set something up for me to do, I accomplished that task. So now they get older as an adult and they already got it in their mind from a young age. You know what? I can do whatever task is set before me because I was able to do it young, when I was young. So now their self-esteem is high. Their self-concept is high, which means their value about themselves is going to be high. Because at a young age, it was already determined from all the things that were set before them that you can accomplish this if you put your mind to it. You can get it done because we know because we believe in you. So a set starts at a young age, setting up the appropriate expectations for them. If that makes sense. I hope that's making sense. Going back to our experiences as a child. Because sometimes everybody's experience is going to be different. And so kids are going to be affected in different ways. Some kids, when they become adults, they think about their childhood and they just fall apart. Because they don't feel like their experience was good. So now they have this negative attitude and this negative outcome concerning life. Because because as they was growing up, in their life, there's nothing positive much that was happening. So their behavior is one of defeat or defeatist attitude. They can't see nothing good happening for them. They don't think they can get anything or do anything. They don't ever feel they're worthy of anything. These are the kind of people that you'll find in relationships that are not good for them. They're toxic, but they don't feel that they can do any better. Because when they was young, they was never told or given the opportunity to receive praise for a good deed done. Somebody feeding them saying, you know what, you are smart, you are good, you are worthy, you are strong, you are beautiful, you are sharp. They didn't get that. So now anybody that's going to feed them to them as an adult, they gravitate to. Because they didn't get it when they was young. Nobody told them they were smart. Nobody told them they was worth it. Nobody told them they was pretty or handsome or whatever. They didn't get that growing up. So that's why it's important that these expectations set them up appropriately. Because what you're really doing is you're building up that person's self-concept about themselves. Make sense so far?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Ooh, I got a lot of stuff on the board. Okay, how do I want to do this? I'm going to be erasing some of this stuff here. Anybody need me to keep anything up before I start erasing stuff?
Nah.
Nah. Okay, I'm sorry, because we're going to revisit this stuff at some point in time.
You're good.
What's that?
You still haven't introduced the new person.
Okay, thanks for reminding me. Appreciate that. Okay, so gentleman that I've been speaking to earlier, I see your name. Could you introduce yourself to everybody, please?
I think I'm the new person. Quentin
Yes.
Harris.
Quentin
How's
Harris.
everybody doing?
So, how is everybody? Could you please introduce yourself to Quentin for me, please?
Wait, I can't hear. It went blink again. Say that again.
Yeah, could you introduce yourselves for me? Mute yourselves and go ahead and introduce yourself to Quentin.
What up, Quentin? Hey.
Appreciate it. What's going on?
Hey, Quentin, it's Lucy. You're the one that I've been working with.
Hey, Lucy. Thank you so much for helping me log in earlier. I was having a hard time.
Yes.
Hi, Quentin. I'm Amber, one of the facilitators with Walden.
Hey, Amber. What's going on?
Where are his classmates at? I know you're out there.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Tessa.
Hi,
Yeah,
I'm
your
Marissa.
turn.
Hi, I'm Maria.
Hey.
Who else we got out there? I know there's more.
Marissa.
Who else is out there? We got Maria and we
You
got
said what,
Tessa so
Lucy?
far.
I said hi, I'm Marissa.
Okay.
Okay,
hi,
didn't hear you.
Marissa.
Sorry, Marissa.
We have Natalie still.
Natalie. Is that?
Natalie, you out there?
So sorry, my phone died. Like, I am so sorry. I really am.
Okay. Is that you, Raheem? Your phone is dying out?
Yeah, my phone's about to die. This thing kills my battery. I had like 30%. I'll call it.
Okay, so you got to find some place and plug in and charge up.
Yeah, but I gotta wrap my phone and like sit it down. It's struggle is real. I gotta bendably charge it. Like, weird.
Gotta hold it at an angle.
Yeah, basically.
All right. Okay, well, Quentin, welcome to the Nurturing Parenting. I appreciate you being here and participating in today's discussion. And having said that, I'm Mark. I'm the facilitator here and one of the facilitators. We still have, you've already met Lucy, and then there's Miss Amber. And he's not at his desk right now, but there's Manny as well. He looked like he stepped away. So I'll be the one mostly facilitating these meetings on a regular basis. Oh, speaking of facilitating, let me get this out the way. Next Tuesday, we are closed, so there will be no class next Tuesday. Holiday, that's Cesar Chavez Day or something like that. So we're closed for the holiday next Tuesday. So there won't be no class next Tuesday. But the following Tuesday, we'll be right back here.
And then y'all back open again. Y'all back in business?
What's that?
Then y'all back in business after that?
In terms of being
Y'all
online,
picking
yes.
us up?
Unless something changes, we're still going to be doing this online. But when things change, we'll be back in a classroom setting, back in our conference room. But next week we're on vacation. We're closed for the holiday. Then the following week we'll be back online. But we'll let y'all know all that. Quentin, are you on our group meet right now? Our group meet for Nurturing Parenting?
No, he's not yet. I'm gonna be adding him in today. Yeah.
Okay. We need to get him set up for that so he can keep it.
I was at y'all building yesterday.
What's that?
I was in the building yesterday.
You was in the building yesterday? Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
nobody here yesterday. So sorry about that. But nobody here yesterday and not in the office.
No, I was at Youth Hope.
Oh,
with,
okay.
Yeah, I still gotta do counseling.
His connection is it's like he's watching a kung fu movie. His lips are moving, but the song, the sound and the lip movement are not, they're not synced up. Okay.
Like
All right.
karate.
So okay. When children view themselves as positive people, they behave that way towards themselves and others. The same holds true with a negative view. Is there any truth to that statement, you think?
Say that one more time.
Yeah. When children view themselves as positive people, they behave that way towards themselves and others. The same holds true with a negative view, the way they treat them, the way they treat themselves and see themselves. Any truth to that statement? Well, let's talk about it then. If you're a positive person, how would you treat other people? Nobody knows?
What was the question?
If you're a positive person, how would you treat somebody else?
Positive in a nice way.
In a nice way?
Kindness.
Yeah. Generally, if you're a positive person, you're going to treat people well.
With never mind.
Yeah. Positive people have a tendency to treat other people well. They treat them good and they treat themselves well. So yeah, there's truth to that statement. The way children think and feel about themselves is reflected in their behavior. Any truth to that one? I'll read it again. The way children think and feel about themselves is reflected in their behavior.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. If you think well about yourself, it's gonna be showing your behavior. You're gonna act a lot differently when you feel good about who you are. Good behavior when you feel good about who you are. Because remember, your behavior is being dictated by your experiences. And your behavior is being controlled and or influenced by how your self-esteem and your self-concept. In other words, your self-worth. So if you value yourself and you feel good about who you are, you're going to act a certain kind of way. It's going to be reflected in your behavior. You're going to talk good, talk well, you're going to feel good, you're going to treat other people well. Because generally people who have a very good sense of of value for themselves, they know who they are. And not only that, they know and understand their strengths and their weaknesses. They know themselves. What about this statement? Experiences impact a child in either a positive or negative way. Do you think a person's experience can affect them in a positive or negative way?
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. If you are surrounded, and if you are in a negative environment all the time, or a toxic environment all the time, you're going to be a reflection of that environment. How you behave, how you think becomes a reflection of that environment. Which brings me to my next. Yeah, here we go. Brings me to my next statement. Children learn to be nurturing and caring by being treated as such. They also learn to be mean and uncaring by being treated that way. Then the truth to that statement.
I mean, how I feel about that statement
Mm-hmm.
is kind of wrong because in my situation,
Mm-hmm.
when I was treated unfairly, I actually started treating other people like better in a way. Like I started treating people with kindness and stuff. Even though I wasn't showed it, I still treated other people with more respect than anything.
Okay. Where do you think you learned that from?
I honestly don't know where I learned it from, but I guess because I wasn't treated that way, I wanted other people to be treated that way.
Okay. Now, what you've just proven to me is this. For every rule, there's an exception. Because some people, when they're treated harshly, or they're treated bad, or they're treated mean, they carry that on. But to every rule, there's an exception. You were the exception. You didn't like how you were being treated, so you made a decision. I'm not going to treat anybody the same way I was treated because you didn't like it. But some folks who are the majority might say, I was treated like this, I was treated bad, this must be the way it is. So I'm gonna do the same thing. But there's an exception to every rule. You were the exception. But studies have shown that most people, if they're born or they are treated bad most of their lives, it does have a negative impact on them and the way they treat other people. But you're right, in your case, you were the exception. But you're also in the minority when it comes to that train of thought. Okay. Because for the most part, children mirror the environment that they're raised in most of the time, but not all of the time. Okay.
That makes sense.
What's that? What did you say? That makes sense? Oh, okay. She said it so fast I couldn't pick up on it. All right. So let's see if I can. There you go. All right. Next statement. We influence children by giving them a label. Labels can be either positive or negative. Now, first of all, what is a label? And what would be an example of a positive label?
Good worker, good communicator, helpful.
Yes. All of those are examples of a positive label. What would be a negative label? How about mean, lazy, stupid, uncaring, selfish? Negative labels. If you say that about a child long enough, what are the odds that they're going to start believing those words? Or do you think they'll start believing those words?
Well, I think that they do because, like with me, for instance, while growing up, I was labeled a lot of different ways by my own father. And, to this day, I still struggle with, thinking about those labels and just remembering all of it. So, I mean, I would think that they do.
Yeah, anybody else? Yeah. Children, whether it's a negative label or a positive label, remember where these labels are coming from. They're coming from the parent. And in my previous session, who did I say the parent was? Another name for parent. You remember?
The source.
Exactly. The source. When you're saying those words to your child, it's not you're not just saying it as the parent, you're saying it as the source of everything that child needs. So when they're hearing it from you as the parent, they're literally hearing it from their source. And if their source is saying you're mean or you're uncaring or you're helpful or determined, they are going to believe that because they have no reason not to. You are their source. And as the source, they're going to expect that you know what you're doing and know what you're talking about. So they're going to believe you. I can just see this thing just tumbling off this board from one week. All right. Last thing. Over time, children develop a positive or negative self-concept and self-esteem. Is that true? And if so, what is the one thing that it takes? I asked this question in an earlier session, so I don't want those from the earlier session to answer this question. If it's true, what is the one thing it takes to get there? And the answer is it was in what I just read.
I think Mark, overall, where parents and kids get, I mean, the experiences, and like you said, it dictates also the behaviors. Labels are a big thing, and I know you've already repeated all of this, but it all starts in the home. To be honest with you,
It's true.
And someone did say, I think you said, kids are a product of their own environment.
Mhm.
So it's one of those things we just got to be vigilant about, and I gave my example earlier, like when you're socializing with friends, you're like, hey, how are your kids doing? How are you doing? So you get into this unconscious talk about, oh, my kid is doing this, my kid is doing that, and your kid's listening to what you're saying about them,
Yeah.
So it all starts in the home.
True.
I know it's not the answer you were looking for, but
But you know what? I could piggyback off of that though. I can piggyback off of that. Because everything you said is correct. It all starts in the home. Everything starts in the home. Everything that the child needs starts in the home. But the most important thing the child needs, and I said this earlier, is one thing that it takes for that child to become positive about themselves or negative. It only takes one thing to get there. Okay, so the second group may not know this. So I'm gonna ask the first group. What did I say it took? The one thing that it would take, if you remember.
I'll be completely honest with you, Mark. I do not remember.
That's all right.
Was it a positive experience?
Experiences fall into that one thing.
Is it time?
Exactly.
Oh, yes, time.
Time. Everything we're talking about, every need, every experience, every behavior takes time. For somebody to have a high value or a positive outlook about themselves doesn't come automatically. It comes based on the experience. But what does the experience itself take? Time. Whether it's negative or positive, it still takes time. If you put the child down, it takes time. If you build the child up, it takes time. If you tear a person down, it takes time. If you praise them, it takes time. If you feed them, it takes time. If you love on them, it takes time. Everything we're talking about takes time. And kids, especially young ones, demand a lot of our time. And how we decide to spend that time with them is going to determine how they're going to turn out as adults in the end. Enough quality time, you're going to have more of a quality in the way you're raising them. But if your time with them is toxic, how do you think your child may turn out? Because they spent all their time in a toxic environment.
Would it be like consistency too, right? Like,
not
just like sometimes.
It is consistent.
And as
But
well
again,
as building a positive relationship or positive nurturing parenting, it's going to take time. Just because I'm mom and dad doesn't mean my child has to do what I tell them to do, and they have to abide by the rules, period. Discipline, everything you talk about and the constructs, all of that's going to take time.
All of it does. And now I'm gonna piggyback off of something Quentin said earlier when I asked a question about experiences, and he said, going to school and getting good grades and building something, making a positive outcome of something. Guess what? That too takes time. So even though, but here's a good thing, with kids, they're resilient. They're very resilient. They can grow up in a negative environment, true enough, and they can turn out to be negative and have low self-esteem. But the good thing is they're resilient. And they can turn all that around. Nobody has to stay in that. Once a person decides, I don't want to be like this anymore, then it's just a matter of time to flip the script and become another person. But again, that takes time. It takes time to decide that you're going to be somebody different. All of that takes time. That making sense so far? Okay. I done got writing and stuff stuck up on this board. Anybody have anything else they want to add before I move on? Or any comments before I move on? Y'all sure are quiet in this Catholic church. Okay, so take this down. So now here's the question. And I kind of answered it to some degree, but I want to hear from you. How do you build up self-esteem? What are some things you can do?
Encouragement, like in sports.
Yeah, encouragement. What else can you do?
Music.
Music, okay. Anything else? See, it would be a time like this I wish we could be in the classroom, because there would be a video I would show called the Dove Sketches, where they have these ladies sit down and describe themselves. You gonna try? You think you'll be able to play it?
Is there any way we can add the link to it, Dr. Kim?
Okay, so Dr. Kim's gonna see if she can find a link to that. It's not very long, but it's very, but it ties into what we're talking about. Because they're sitting there and they're describing themselves, and then they have a stranger describe them as well. And it's amazing the contrast that you're gonna see if Miss Dr. Kim can get it queued up, and we can show you this, and we can see if it plays. In the meantime, I'm gonna move on while we're talking about improving self-worth. Now, I talked about expectations. And our expectations would help to develop the self-esteem and the self-concept of our kids. So we do want to make sure we set them up to succeed in small things. The example I gave was, let's say you have a child, you sit at the table and they're learning their numbers. They're learning how to count. And so you want to nurture that in. So you say, okay, I'm setting the table. Can you bring me 4 plates? So what would be your expectations with that goal? What do you think? What is your expectation at that moment? You say, I need you to go get 4 plates for me. What are you expecting? I'm asking.
I hope they plastic plates.
Okay, so yeah, they're plastic. They're plastic plates. You're hoping they don't break them. Yeah, they're plastic. Okay, so yeah, plastic plates. They're plastic plates. What are your expectations at that moment when you say, I need you to go give me 4 plates? What would be the expectation?
They return with 4 plates?
Yeah, it's not very simple. Your expectation is, I expect them to be able to go to the kitchen, count 4 plates, and bring them to me. Well, yeah, it was playing some jams there for a moment. Okay. Okay, but they have a party up in this place. Okay, so you expect them to go out, be able to go in, get plates, count 4 plates, and then bring them back to help set the table. That's the expectation. So what do you do when they accomplish that goal? What do?
You praise them?
You praise them. Good job. You brought me the 4 plates that I asked for. So now you're building up their self-esteem. But what if they come back with 5 instead of 4 plates? What do?
You correct them.
And how would you correct them? Because that's important how you do it.
One, you don't yell at them.
Yeah, you don't want to. I told you to bring 4, and you brought me 5 plates. What's the matter? Can't you count? Don't want to do that.
No.
No. So what would you do?
Be like, I don't know.
Okay. This is what you should. This is what I would recommend. Let's say you ask them for 4 plates, they come back with 5. You don't want them to make them feel low because they didn't bring a number of plates. You can still say, well, thank you for bringing the plates. This is more than I wanted. So how many is 4? And you sit there and you count 4 plates with them. So you pull out, you can lay them out. Okay, so let's count how many plates you have. 1, 2, 3, 4. How many we got? 5. So how many is 4? So they can count out 4. Then you give them the extra plate and ask them to take it back. They take the extra plate back. What do? You praise them. Thank you for taking the other plate back. Now, how many plates do we have? We have 4 plates. Very good. Now let's set the table with the 4 plates. That way you're not tearing them down. You're actually using it as a teachable moment. Because maybe they know how to count 4, maybe they just grabbed an extra 1 or something, maybe they made a mistake. Or maybe they really can't count to 5. 4, I mean. So it's a teachable moment. Oh, well, there's more places than that. So let's count out 4, and you can take the extra other one back. So you're not tearing them down. Because we don't want to make them feel this big because they got 1 extra plate. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. I'm ready when you are. Okay, we're gonna see if this video is gonna play.
Is that what that music was about?
Yeah, there's a link that we have, there's a video we have, Dove Connection.
Oh.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Give me a chance to sit down for a moment. Can everybody see this?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, good. Yeah, I see it.
I always thought people were so cute when they have the little cheeks and they're like rosy, but mine are pretty plain. If I was gonna change one feature about my face, I would say that I would want fuller lips.
Can y'all hear it?
Yes. I'm definitely a person that looks tired when I'm tired, and when people say that, immediately I'm like, oh man. I'm starting to already get little crow's feet and stuff, which like my mom has, so yeah.
I'm a forensic artist. I was trained at the FBI Academy in 1993 in composite art. Worked for the San Jose Police Department as the police artist from 1995 to 2011.
We didn't really know what we were doing, so that was nerve-wracking for everyone.
I showed up to a place I'd never been and walked into this big warehouse, and at the very end there was a guy with his back to me with a drafting board.
I had a curtain separating me so that I don't see him. We'll begin. First of all, tell me about your hair.
Brown, long, I guess a little bit past my shoulders.
Your jaw?
My mom told me I had a big jaw. Yeah, they're brown eyebrows, dark brown eyebrows. Okay. I didn't know what he was doing, but then I could tell after several questions that he was drawing me.
Tell me about your chin.
I guess I haven't really compared it to anyone else's chin, but especially when like I smile, I just feel like it kind of protrudes a little bit.
What would be your most prominent feature?
I kind of have a fat, rounder face.
The older I've gotten, the more freckles I've gotten.
You sort of realize, oh man, now I have to talk about myself and think about my looks. I'm 40, so I'm starting to get a little bit of the crow's feet thing going on.
Once I get a sketch, I say thank you very much, and then they leave. I don't see them.
I still didn't know. All I had been told before the sketch was to get friendly with this other woman, Chloe.
Today I'm going to ask you some questions about a person you met earlier, and I'm going to ask you some general questions about their face.
She was thin, so you could see her cheekbones. And her chin was a nice, thin chin.
The women were really critical about moles or scars or things like that, and yet they were describing just a normal, beautiful person.
She had nice eyes. They lit up when she spoke and were very expressive.
The length of the nose, what is that like?
Short.
Short.
Yeah, cute nose.
Her face was fairly thin.
She had blue eyes, very nice blue eyes.
Okay. So this is your self-described image? And then somebody else described you and I did this sketch.
I have this whole thing about having dark circles and crow's feet around my eyes, and that was not part of the sketch at all that the stranger did. The stranger's was a little more like gentle.
It's really different. Just very strange. She looks closed off and fatter. She just looks kind of shut down. Looks sadder, too. The second one is more beautiful.
You think they're catching more of that from you?
Yeah. She looks more open and friendly and happy. I've come a long way in how I see myself, but I think I still have some way to go.
I have some work to do on myself.
Do you think you're more beautiful than you say?
Yeah. Yeah. Chloe's perception was so clearly different. Her picture looked like somebody I thought I would want to talk to and be friends with, like a happy, light, much younger, much brighter person. It's troubling. I should be more grateful of my natural beauty. It impacts the choices and the friends that we make, the jobs we apply for, how we treat our children. It impacts everything. It couldn't be more critical to your happiness.
Our self-perceptions are generally kind of harsh and unbecoming when really that's not how the world sees us. We spend a lot of time as women analyzing and trying to fix the things that aren't quite right, and we should spend more time appreciating the things that we do like.
Trying to make me cry. Don't do me like that.
No lie, that video always gets to me all the time. That's why I should offer. I don't want you
So, thoughts about what we just watched. What do you think What do you think about this video? How do you think these,
Emotional for them.
what do these ladies, how do you think these ladies thought about themselves?
They thought they were ugly.
Hey, what's up, Chris?
They had
They
negative
thought they were ugly.
perceptions of themselves.
They had negative perceptions of themselves. One of them said, you know, I've come a long ways in a way I see myself, but I still got a lot of work to do. So they didn't have, what do you think their self-esteem or their self-worth was like?
Very low.
Pretty low? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say their self-esteem was kind of low. They always shocked when they looked at how they described themselves. And then when the stranger described them and they saw that picture and the vast differences between the two, when they described themselves, that they look anything at all like the way the strangers described them.
I noticed how the women will say a lot of, like, the lady, when she noticed when she was talking about her chin being big, she was saying that I was told. A lot of the imagery was coming from what they've been told.
Yeah.
That I don't know if that's necessarily what they believed, but they've heard it so much that that's how they view themselves.
Absolutely. They heard it enough that they started seeing themselves that way. It goes back to something that I said earlier in the early sessions. When you say something to somebody that's negative and they are experiencing it at the same time, that brings in not only a psychological but an emotional connection to that person, which means they are taking all that stuff to heart. They are taking it into heart, and they are going to believe it now. So it's not that just somebody hearing something negative, they are experiencing that negativity while they're hearing it. So now they're getting it here, and they're getting it here in the heart, and now they are adopting it. So it's important what we say, in addition to what we do with our kids. Because I pretty much bet that none of these ladies that was featured in this video were told when they were young that they were pretty, or that they were exceptional in some kind of way, that they were beautiful, or that they were nice looking, or anything, or attractive. They probably didn't hear that a lot growing up. And as a result, their self-worth was questionable. And that's why some of them started crying when they saw, well, this is how the stranger saw me, as opposed to how I saw myself. Because when they described themselves, it wasn't in an attractive picture. But when the strangers did, they saw somebody totally different. So all of that comes back to, what were they told growing up? What was their childhood like growing up? What was their environment like growing up? What were they told when they were young? That when they got older, they started thinking this way about themselves. It all starts when they're young. And it all starts with their experience. And whether it was positive or negative, it affected their behavior and how they thought about themselves. So, before we transition, I am going to talk about 10 ways. There's 10 ways to improve a child's self-worth. So let's talk about those. First one, we kind of talked about it before. Put children in situations where they can succeed at doing things that they're capable of. Just like when I talked about going and counting the 4 plates and then bringing them back to the table. The expectation was I expect them to be able to go to the kitchen and get 4 plates. But if they don't meet it, what do? You can still set them up for success. But it's all important on how you handle it and what you say to them. to put them in a situation where they can succeed. Second thing, expect them to succeed in small situations, small specific situations. It's unrealistic to expect your child to succeed in all things at all times. That's unrealistic for anybody, because none of us do that. We don't all succeed in all things at all times. That's just unrealistic for anybody. You're going to have pitfalls. You're going to make mistakes. That's just how things go. How you deal with those mistakes with your child and how you deal with those pitfalls when they come makes a difference. So expect your child to succeed in small, specific things. And if they don't, then you can use that as a learning tool for them. Because it's all an experiment for them, for you anyway. Okay, this is not the result I was looking for. So let me try a different experiment to get the result I want. Because really, that's all life is. It's an experiment. And experiments never fail. Because you're always trying something different to get the result you want. Third thing, if they don't succeed, problem solve and find out what the problem was, and then correct it. What was the barrier? Here am I, number 4. Fourth thing, every time you see your child behaving in a desired way, write it down. If you see them doing something that you approve or that you like, write it down. If they succeed in something extraordinary or even small, write it down. You're basically journaling their good things, their strengths, and all the things that they've accomplished. You're journaling their accomplishments. Because there's going to come a time when they might feel bad or feel low or feel like they're unworthy. And you can go back and pull this book out and say, yeah, but you remember on this date you did this really well. On this date you did this really well. You did this. Oh, remember when I asked you to do this? These are your successes. Something to look back on. Next, share with someone else how your child is doing. And make sure their child hears how well you're speaking of them. Because we've seen it, at least I've seen it, where where the parent is talking about the child and they're saying negative things about the child, and the child is standing right there next to them. My child is just so lazy, don't want to do nothing. And there's a child standing there hearing their mom saying to this other person about how they're lazy and not good for anything. That's going to have an effect on their psyche. But if you're saying to them, yeah, my child, they're doing well in school, they're very determined. My child is so caring, and they understand so many things, that's going to have a positive effect on them. Because it's like you're bragging about your child to this other person about who they are and what they do. Next thing, act in the way you want your child to act. Model how you want your child to act. But here's the kicker. When you are acting in the way you want your child to act, praise yourself for doing it. If you did something well and your child sees that you did something well, and you say, man, I did good with that. They're hearing you praise yourself for doing something well. They'll learn how to do that for themselves as well.
know my phone finna die.
What's that?
My phone finna die.
Your phone is about to die? Find someplace to plug it up, man. Get back with us. Stay with us. Go find someplace to plug it in and get back with us.
My shit's at like 12%.
12%? Is there an outlet nearby you can plug in?
Yeah, but I don't got my charger.
Mine is at 5%.
Oh, now you're at 5%. Oh, my goodness.
But I'm charging my phone right now.
Okay.
That's
all right, I'm gonna continue on. Next thing is, see your child as always being positive. A positive label, smart, independent, something like that. Visualize your child being that way. Next, Show respect for your child's feelings and opinions, even if you may not agree with them. That's what we call empathy. They have their own opinions because they're going to have their own opinions. They're still little minds. They're separate little mind with their own way of saying things as well. Respect their feelings and their opinions, even if you don't agree with them. Empathize with them. Hey, I understand where you're coming from. I don't agree, but I understand. I get it. And honor their opinions. Hey, I understand why you would say that. I don't agree with it, but I see why you would say it. And then lastly, make sure you comment on their strengths as well as their weaknesses. Because we all have strengths, we all have weaknesses. But we can have this tendency to focus more on the weakness of a child and not comment so much on their strengths because you're so used to seeing them doing something that they're good at. And when they do something that they're not good at, you focus in and zero in on that. So you want to have a balance there. So talk about their weaknesses, but also talk about their strengths at the same time. Keep it balanced. Any questions about any of those? Mute it, mute it, mute it, mute it, mute it, mute it. I guess not. Okay. We're going to transition into something else. Now, when we're talking about their expectations, there are two things that we need to do. Well, really one, but two ways of doing one thing. Just put it. That's praise your child. Because praising your child, praise is an emotional need from a child. They need that positive affirmation, that positive feedback saying you did good or you did well when they've done good and done well. Because that helps build up their self-esteem. And not only that, that's going to encourage them to continue to try to do things that's going to make you happy, that you're going to be pleased with. And the more you praise them in the things that they're doing well, and when they're doing and doing things that you approve of, the more they're going to want to do those things. You want to pay as much attention as you can to the things that they do good and do well and the positive things. Reward them with praise. And there's two ways that can be done. Praise for being and praise for doing. Now, anybody know the difference between the two? Before I tell you. Huh? All right. Y'all sure are quiet. When you praise somebody for being, that means you are praising them simply because you appreciate them as a person. You praise them just for who they are. They're your son or your daughter, you just say, you know what, I'm proud of you. Why? Simply because I'm proud of you. Oh, I love you, simply because you're my son and my daughter. You just praise them for who they are. Praise for doing is when they done something, is for their efforts, basically. They've done something that you like and you appreciate what they done. And so you praise them for it. Good job cleaning the table. Good job helping me with the dishes. Now, what is recommended is when you're praising them, do not do it in combinations with the being and the doing. An example would be, good job cleaning your room. I love you so much. Because now it sounds like you're putting conditions on your love for that child. Oh, you love me because I clean my room? What if I didn't clean my room? Would you still love me? So we don't want to make it sound conditional. So if you're going to praise them for being, strictly praise them for being. And if you're going to praise them for doing something, strictly praise them for doing. But don't do it in combinations, because it's going to sound like the only reason that you love or like or appreciate them is because they've done something, not because of who they are. That makes sense?
Yes.
Okay. Now, Ms. Kim also shared an example earlier. Ms. Kim, you want to share that example that you had? Oh, Ms. Kim, what you doing?
Trying to figure out how to upload to YouTube. So what I said was, for those of us who have significant others, especially us females, we have a tendency when our guys bring us something, we say, oh, thank you so much for those flowers. I loved them. I love you. So it sounds to our significant others that we love them when they bring us something. And that may be true, but that's not praise for who they are and for their doing. So you want to be careful of that, because we want them to know that we love them just for who they are. And we appreciate what they're giving to us. So that always seems to be the problem. Manny shared earlier, like with Valentine's Day, you know, that's why they don't feel like giving us gifts at that time, because it's like they just gave us something. So what you want to say is, thank you so much for those beautiful flowers, or for that candy, or for the stuffed animal, or like Christopher gave Tessa his gift card, and she should have said, thanks, babe. I appreciate that, period. And then go on to say, I love you, or whatever it is you're going to say, because you want to separate that. Your child should never feel like you love them for something that they gave you. Your significant other should never feel like you love them for something they gave you. Those are two separate things. And we as women have a tendency to do that quite frequently. So I hope that makes sense. And Mark gave you the example that I said. It's the same thing with cleaning your rooms. We tell our kids, or you got good grades. Thanks for, I love you. You got such good grades. So you only love me if I get good grades? I want to love you, period. All right. Hope that helps.
Thank you, Ms. Kim. Okay. So any questions about anything we've talked about so far tonight?
No.
Are you sitting on the floor? Oh, you ain't, okay, you laying down. Oh, she hearing all this. She like, yeah, mama, make sure you do that.
Oh, no, it's my little cousin.
Oh, okay, your cousin, she's still looking at you like, I heard all that. Let's make sure you're doing all that. Okay, any questions, concerns, comments about anything tonight?
No.
Who's that in the shadows? Is that Tessa?
No, I'm not in the show. In the living room.
We can't quite see you.
Yeah,
I just want to tell you guys, I'm really proud of you all. You all did really well. Hello. I just wanted to say that I've been listening in, even though I have not been vocal the whole time. You guys did really, really well. I like the interaction. I'm proud of you all for sticking with us. You have been on, for most of you, 2 hours. We had some technical difficulties, and I know some of you had difficulty getting on. So if you need help and you want to figure out how to get on quicker and everything, reach out to your support staff and they can help you with that tomorrow or something. But I just wanted to say that you all did an amazing job this afternoon. So thank you for being here and for doing that. So.
You're welcome.
Hey, I was just letting everyone know I'm gonna be 18 in 4 weeks.
Congratulations, Christopher. Happy birthday.
Happy early birthday.
All right. Happy birthday.
No, it don't sound like that.
All right. Now, before we go, we're going to do a checkout real quick because we haven't had a chance to, we haven't really done one. So we're going to do a checkout. This is also to let Quentin know how we do things around here. Okay. So our checkout is going to be the same way. How are you feeling at this moment now after the class? Are you feeling still like Loopy from Guadalupe? Or are you still feeling like this guy sitting back here in the chair lounging? Or are you feeling like this lady back here pulling out her hair?
The second one.
The second one? You feeling like the guy just sitting back there chilling?
The second one.
All right, got another second one.
I'm big chilling. I'm sitting down in my corner and everything.
All right, all right. Anybody else feeling like the second one?
I'm feeling good. It's the most social interaction I had in about a week.
Social distancing at its finest, right?
Right. Haven't had much conversation with much people these days.
That's good.
Layla, what are you doing?
I'm also the second one.
Second one? Okay. Anybody feeling like this one or the third one?
Yeah, I'm feeling good.
Yeah.
Feeling good? All right.
Yeah, I'm at the first one that you have in your hand.
You at the first one? You this one?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, all right. Okay.
I'm still at the second one, so.
Are you still at the second one, just chilling too? Oh, look, we get to see you.
Yep.
There she
I was
is.
lurking in the dark there for a moment just with her name.
Oh, wow.
Good to see you, Amber. or as Darlene would say, Amber.
Yeah.
Amber.
I miss it. I miss it all.
I know.
Okay. Is Maddie still online too? Is he with us still?
He's still there. He's there.
Oh, he's there. Okay. What about you, Manny? Are you here? Guy in the middle, or did you answer already?
He did.
The answer on the second one.
Oh, you answered the second one. Okay. What about you, Miss Kim?
You know, I'm better. I'm not pulling my hair out anymore. I'm kind of, I'm getting the goofy.
You're getting goofy. Oh, so
I'm so happy. I'm so happy. Yeah, I'm so glad that everybody's on the call. Yeah, I'm good.
All right, okay, yeah, I'm feeling good. I'm here too. I'm happy. I'm good.
Yeah,
I'm good.
I'm happy.
All right, everyone. Thanks so much. We appreciate y'all
Thank you.
dialing in. We got all the bugs figured out so far. And this has been good. This has been a pleasant experience. So we'll do this again. Remember, next week is a holiday, so there will be no class next week. However, the following week, we will be back online unless something changes. We'll be back online doing this again next week.
Okay, quick question.
Yes.
For the sign in, did she got us all signed in?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. Okay. I wrote all of you guys that were here, your names down, so you'll get credit for class.
Okay.
And
I have
I
another
want
question.
you guys to really practice staying home because it's, you have to keep your kids safe. You have to keep yourself healthy. So don't go out unless you really have to.